What's up, ladies and gents? Op Soldier here today, and today we're going to talk about improvement in fighting games and kind of some of my opinions on some of the experiences I've had with players when it comes to improving in fighting games. So I'm going to keep this as vague as possible because, as I've said before, my goal is to improve the community, not start drama. Usually when I talk with people or talk to my specific channel, I'm focusing on a particular group of people, not necessarily an individual. This helps improve the community while also not inciting any type of drama or basically calling anyone out. Like, I'm not calling out a specific group of players. I'm just saying that this is a particular area where people can improve if they kind of pay attention to what is going on. It's very, very simple, actually. There's been quite a few people that over the 3 years of my competitive play as a fighting game player, I have surpassed. Like, I used to go even with these players, or like I didn't understand how they played, you know, they had a particular play style that I couldn't beat, and now I beat these players on the regular, or even some of these players I go even with. But let's focus on the ones that I beat consistently. I'm talking about 10-2. I would say that out of a 1st to 10 set, if you're beating someone 10 times and they're beating you only twice out of a 1st to 10 set, I would say that that's a really good consistent way to prove that you're probably the better player. A really common thing I see as both a teacher and a player who plays people of all calibers, whether it be people who consistently beat me or it be people who don't beat me. The thing that I've noticed the most is that the people that I do beat consistently, the reason why they stay where they are is just simply because they don't, I don't want to say they don't listen, because that's the easiest way to say, like, oh, okay, like the reason this person loses all the time is because they don't listen to what I'm telling them. It's moreover, they repeat the same habits, and then they go on a forum or they go to a Discord or whatever, or they might ask me, it doesn't really matter where, and they ask the same question. I keep losing, I'm never getting better, I don't know why I'm getting better. Right? When I can literally, as a player, I can pinpoint exactly why I am beating them, right? It could be they're making too many hard reads. This is a very common one I've noticed. Outside of maybe 1 or 2 players I've played, most players that make hard reads consistently, like I'm talking about like constantly make hard reads, they generally don't do very well because they're not actually paying attention to, and I've said this before, if you're not paying attention to what your opponent is doing, it's very easy to lose via your own flowchart because you're just gambling. Like, you're just trying to make the hardest of read to take your turn back or to start some sort of offense. That's not a very productive way of getting good at fighting games, because if you're risking your life every 24/7, then all the person has to do is play a little bit more defensive and you're dead, right? So that's just like a small example of what I mean by like players that I beat consistently. They might gamble all the time, and I just simply don't gamble. I just play defensive. I tech throws in MK11, or I take the least amount of risks, and in the process I end up winning. Other things are simple things like not learning how to jail and refusing to learn how to jail, even though I've said multiple times to whatever player it is, hey dude, your jailing is not very good, you've got to work on your jailing, just practice 10-15 minutes a day, you'll get the jailing down. Or just not hit confirming. Like, these are like fundamental things that like I'll notice in the match, and I'm like, oh, they're not hit confirming, they're not jailing, this is an easy match, like I literally can just mash on them, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is that it could be fundamental things, it could be just the risks that they take in game. But the thing that I've noticed the most as a player is that generally these players that are stuck with hours and hours and hours into the game, they just don't want to actually do what it takes to improve. Whether it be jump into the practice mode, land these things, this jailing, learn how to jail correctly, whether it be learn matchups, play bad matchups, understand where the matchups are that you win, like good matchups that are really favorable for you, like learning how to beat those matchups are also important. Or whether it be just simply not taking good criticism. So for example, I might watch them play or whatever, and I might say, hey dude, you're doing really well, but maybe you should hit confirm this, or maybe you should throw more to like condition, to get them to stop blocking so much, right? You don't have to throw the whole game, just throw a lot and then condition them to want to take the mid, right? So the whole point I'm trying to make here is that, like, these players, generally this happens to them where they'll put hours and hours into the game. They'll say, hey, I'm not getting better. I can never get better. It's, you know, I'm just not a good player. They might blame some external factor to why they don't get good. You know, players are just simply better than me, whatever. And when it really comes down to it, it's just their work ethic as a player. They don't want to listen to criticism. When they do, they ignore it. You give them matchup knowledge, they don't use the matchup knowledge, they don't ask for more information, they don't want to learn how to improve, they just want to run the set and lose, and then not really figure out why, right? Or it could be anything, really. That's what it comes down to. It's everything but, I need to go into practice mode, do this thing, I need to ask questions when I lose, I need to figure out why I'm losing, I need to go over my VODs, whatever. They don't even have to come to me. Like, I would even argue that you don't even have to come to me to say, like, maybe you're embarrassed that you're losing. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. We're playing casuals, but whatever. Let's say you're embarrassed that you're losing. At least looking over your VODs and figuring out, oh, I don't hit confirm here all the time, or oh, I throw too much, or oh, I gamble the wake up system, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but some sort of thing needs to change. It doesn't have to come from me. I am just saying to these players who put hours and hours on end, and these aren't even just players that play me. This could be you know, viewer who is constantly losing, doesn't know why they're losing. At least look at your VODs, man. Like, at least figure out why you seem to get hit in a situation, right? Like, that's the fundamental thing. Why did I get hit here, kind of thing. At least figure out those type of things, something to go forward. You need to fail forward. If you're just failing and doing nothing, if you're just failing and constantly losing and only seeing that you're losing and not paying attention to why you're failing, it is just a recipe for disaster and a waste of time. Now, I'm not talking about these people over here just playing to have fun. I'm talking about the players who actually want to improve and get better at fighting games. And that's all I have to say is, like, you know, being able to figure out why you're losing is important. I would argue that in a lot of situations where if you're losing to someone 10-0 constantly, you need to actually spend more time in the lab figuring out why you're losing and less time playing that person until you finally figure out what you need to do to win. I know this is a common thing, people don't like the lab, but to be honest with you, I feel like that's actually a better choice. Playing less games, focusing more on what you need to do in the lab, whether it be making sure that you land your offense, or making sure that you don't gamble, or making sure you understand a setup that you get caught in. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I just want to stress this a lot. I see so many players I've surpassed, and they say, oh, you're just a good player now. And I'm like, dude, no, it's just my work ethic was better than yours. Like, you just want to grind the game, but you don't want to figure out why you're losing. And when I make a statement, hey, like, you might want to do this here, you don't want to listen to it, and that's why you're losing it. It's not because I'm a better player, it's just simply because I listened to the players, or I focused on my weaknesses and improved on them. And I'm not perfect either. I will admit, personally, just kind of a point of vulnerability here, I'm not perfect either. There's been several times where I, as a player, have been afraid to play other players simply because they're better, or because I don't know how they're going to play, and I don't focus on improving. So I have things I have to work on as a player, mental blocks that I have to work on as a player, but I understand fundamentally that I am doing that. I'm not covering it up. Like, I know that I'm doing something like that, and I need to improve in that area, and I need to be less fearful when it comes to playing more players and learning how to get better at fighting games and improving my weaknesses. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. Have fun playing fighting games and have a good fight.